Hello everyone, welcome back to the session on memory management. So in this particular video, we are going to discuss about the second half, of your paging technique. Like in the previous session, we discussed about something called as memory management technique called as segmentation. I think it is very clear with the previous video. You might have understood what do you mean by segmentation. And along with that, I have already discussed some portion like 30% of your paging technique. Okay, so paging. So these two are the memory management techniques what we have. So memory management techniques. So these two we have discussed in the previous session. Now in this particular session, we will be trying to complete the remaining portion of your paging technique. Well, I have discussed in the previous session only the first 30% of your paging method. So how exactly that does, and means what do you mean by paging here? And with the help of paging, how we can eliminate the external fragmentation, but internal fragmentation does exist in it. And apart from that, we also discussed about how internally your operating system maps this paging. Map the logical address to the physical address that we have discussed in this particular paging concept in the previous session. And today's session will try to cover this particular paging, where we will be trying to cover the hardware concepts here, means how the hardware supports this particular paging that we are going to discuss. And apart from that, we will be also discussing about something called as providing protection. How we can provide protection to these pages. That is nothing but within the main memory, we people are storing the information. So how making sure that one process is not trying to access the memory of another process, that also we are going to see in this particular video. So without wasting time, let's go ahead. So let me erase this. Yes. So this is your first half content that has been displayed here. If you can see here in this, we already discussed about something called as introduction to memory management. So where we discussed about the basic introduction part related to your all the information related to what are the things required for this memory management concept. Then we discussed about something called as swapping, how internally the system swaps two different processes, and when they are swapping two different processes, what are the different things we need to do, like loading the page information and PCB, and how we are loading and unloading it. Okay, so that information we have seen. And after that, we also discussed something called as continuous memory allocation, where we try to allocate the processes with continuous memory. Okay, means whatever the process is coming, we are allocating memory in a continuous manner, not in different manners. And there exists some kind of limitations within that. So to overcome that, we use the technique. What kind of technique we have used is nothing but segmentation. It is a memory management technique where we will not be storing the information related to the process, one particular process in a continuous manner. Rather, we'll split it up and we'll store in different locations. Okay, so it becomes, it means the memory whatever is allocated to this process will be in a non-continuous manner. Okay, so with the help of this, we try to eliminate the problems, the limitations that we got exist in this particular continuous memory allocation. And after that, we were discussing about something called as paging, where we discussed the basic method, how paging works. And in order to make sure that particular paging works, what are the different things we require that we have seen in that particular session. In today's session, we'll try to cover the hardware support, followed with that the protection part and the shared pages. So these three are the topics we are going to discuss in this particular session. Okay. So the next part we'll discuss about the structure of page tables. So basically, this was already seen in the previous diagram. That slides I'm just referring it so that it becomes easy for you to understand. So paging means we try to divide. What we said is the CPU generates two different logical address, right? So whenever CPU generates a logical address, that actually consists of a page number and a displacement. So how we can find the page numbers? We already discussed. If we have a logical address of type power of m, okay, so power of 2 we need to have. So if we have a logical address which is of power of 2 to the power n, and we have a page size of 2 to the power n, then higher order n minus n bits represents your page number, and the lower order n bits represents your displacement. For that, we have also taken an example, right? We have taken something called 16-bit or something, 16 bits. Your page address, I mean, what we call logical address is 16 bits. So that is nothing but 2 to the power 4, and then we have sent page size of 4. So that is 4 bits, that is 4 bytes, that is 2 square bytes. So that means if we can see what is the page number we can get is m minus n. So here this represents your m, because this is the logical address space and this is your page size. So here this is m, this is n. So 4 minus 2. So 2 represents your page number. And what about the displacement? The n represents low order. That is nothing but 2. So this is your displacement here. This is your page. Remember that displacement and page offset both are same. Don't get confused. These two are reference. We are using interchangeably here, but displacement and offset both are similar. So this is the way how we try to find the page number and offset. So this is the basic diagram what we are in, and why I'm repeating this again here I'm showing you is because this is important. Based on that only the hardware support is provided, but with a small difference in this mechanism. Like we are using page table here, but when we talk about the hardware support here, we will be having some changes in this particular location. Page table, apart from page table, we'll get some more additional hardware here. This is a hardware, right? So here we are going to get some hardware here, and using that we will be trying to access the information. That's the only difference. But remaining process is same. That's the reason I'm showing you people this particular concept. That is this paging hardware. So please do remember that. So when we are discussing that, also this one already we discussed logical. This is your logical address space. We have a pages here, page 0 to 3, and these have respective frame numbers. These are the frame numbers, right? So using the frame numbers, we already did some problems, and using that problems, we have tried to know how exactly the mapping is done. This is the example we have taken, and I have shown you practically how this mapping is done. So internally, operating system does that. We don't need to do that. Just only for our understanding, we did exactly that particular concept. But internally, operating system does in this way, and every process has been done in a fraction of seconds. Remember that. Okay. It doesn't take much time. So this is finally it has been represented here. So, okay, let's begin with the hardware support. So today we are going to discuss about something called as hardware support, implementing of a page table. But let's, before discussing about the slide what is represented here, I just want to discuss spend some time on this particular hardware support. So basically, every operating system is having its own methods for representing the table. Okay, so whatever the page tables we have here, whatever the page tables we are representing, we do have a page table like this, right? Now every operating system is having its own design to represent this particular page table. Well, some operating systems, what they does is they associate this particular page table with every process. Let us suppose in your system you have around 3 processes. Now every process will have its own page table. Yes. Till now we discussed only about one page table, but here what he's saying is coming to your operating system. Based upon the operating system, whatever you're using in your laptops or personal computers, they have their own methods of implementing this page table. Some operating systems allow every process to have its own page table. Okay, so every process will have its own page table. But when we are applying this particular page table, how this is mapped with this particular process that we already discussed in the previous session, we discussed that we have something called as memory images. We discussed about something called as backing store, right? We discussed about backing store. What do you mean the backing store is nothing but we discussed that it is a standard hard disk. Whatever we are using, standard hardware disk. Now using this disk, we will be storing here something called as memory images. Now what did we discuss? This memory image is nothing but your PCB. Now this PCB will consist of, this we discussed in your unit 2. So this PCB consists of a pointer. That pointer will refer to this particular table. So whenever a process is brought into the memory for allocation, means for execution purpose, from the PCB, the dispatcher will try to locate the particular page table, and this page table will be uploaded from your backing store. That is nothing but your external hardware disk. Okay, and then it will start performing the operation. But basically when we are discussing this, in the previous session we discussed that this particular page table will consist of millions of entries, right? So almost we discussed with a small problem where we got around 1 million entries per table. Well, if you're associating with one process, one particular page table, and that page table consists of 1 million entries, where we are storing this page table? Obviously, we are storing in your main memory, that is your RAM. So let us suppose in your system there are 100 processes. Okay, so 100 process means we have 100 page tables. Now one table, one page table contain 1 million entries. I'm talking about here 100 tables, sorry. I'm talking about here 100 tables. Then what is the scenario here? If you talk about here 100 tables, what is the scenario? So 100 into 1 million entries. How much you're getting? So I think you can understand this many entries are there in your system, and you people are storing all these entries in your RAM, your main memory. So do we really have that much of space to store it? Obviously it can store, but remaining processes may not be working properly. Why? Because your entire RAM, majority of the capacity of your RAM is getting occupied by this particular value. But what about the others, and how we are going to do that? That's highly typical. So to overcome that, what they do is they use different methods, and that method we are going to discuss here. So what is the first method they have discussed it? Okay, we'll do one thing. We will use registers. The first method what they use exactly here is registers. So using registers, this will be associated with every page table. Your page tables will be placed in this particular registers. But we know that these particular registers, if you remember in the first unit, we discussed about the hierarchy. Hierarchy of what we discussed, the hierarchy of your storage. So on the top, we got something called as registers, and then we got it something called as cache, and then finally we got something called as RAM, and then remaining, isn't it? So if you observe here, when we discuss this register is one of the very fastest device. Since it is a hardware, it is very fastest device which can be accessed very easily and very fastly. That we know. But we said that the memory of this particular register is in hardly 1 KB, isn't it? 1 or 2 KB. So if you look at it, the capacity of this particular register is very less. So it can support only to certain limit. For example, if you are associating one particular page table into this register, it can support only up to 256 entries, not more than that. If you're trying to add additional entries, then this particular register may not work properly. It's highly typical for this particular register to work properly. So we have seen in the previous session, we have seen a table which has 1 million entries. Now in such a kind of scenario, 1 million entries we have seen. So in such a kind of scenario, can we use this registers? Well, I think that it's very typical, isn't it? So how we can overcome that means, again, some new feature has to come up or new development has to be done. So in order to develop that, we will be coming across something called as this particular value, this name, page table based register. Now this is something which we are going to develop in order to overcome the problem that we are faced using registers. Registers can support only up to 256 entries in a page table, not more than that. So if you are getting 1 million entries, then we need to use the alternative, that is what we have something called as page table based register. Now using this, we will try to store. So here what we are going to store is, what is the mechanism here is, we will store this particular page table. We'll store this particular page table in your main memory. Okay. And this particular page table can be accessed using this particular register only. Yes. If you want to make any modification in this page table, if you want to update it, if you want to delete anything, any modification you want to do this particular page table, that can be done only with the help of a page table based register. Now with this way, what happens? We can reduce the amount of memory required to access this. Means we are not going to access this particular page table. This will be directly dumped in your memory. It will occupy some space, but ultimately we will not be swapping in and out, because that will be taken care by this particular page table based register. He will try to update the information with, that is either a new updations or removing or deleting or updating whatever is there to this table using this particular, so one-way communication. So only with this we can contact and he will perform the remaining operation. So we don't have to bring each time this particular table into memory, remove it and store it in your batching store, then bring it. That particular headache doesn't exist in this particular scenario. I hope it's very clear. The second one, what we are talking about here, page table length register. This is used for displaying the length of your table. So whenever one particular logical address is generated, there we have page number and displacement, right? This page number we are comparing with the limit. That limit is nothing but we is talking about your length of this particular page table. And based on that, if whatever the page number is generated, if it is less than this particular limit register, that is nothing but your length, page table length register, then that can be accessed with the base register combined, you will get the physical memory. But in case if it is greater than that, definitely this will result in a trap. That is what is saying in this particular scenario. Okay. Don't go. Okay. So this will be in the coming slides. We'll talk more about this particular page table length register. Right now, you just have an understanding. That's enough. Now, here also, when we were using this page table based register, there was a problem here. What is the problem here is it takes some time. Like in the previous diagram, what I have shown you. Okay, in the previous diagram, I have shown you that CPU is generating a logical address. That logical address consists of P and D. Okay, now this particular P, we are going to search in our page table. This is your page table, right? So here what will consist of? It will consist of a frame. Now here, sorry, this P. So if you see here, this particular P is acting as an index. So here, based on that particular P, wherever is located, we'll find it as an index here. And whatever the frame number is there, that we will bring it up here. And with that frame number, we will be adding up the displacement. And finally, you're going to get the physical address within your RAM. Right? Now, in this scenario, what is saying, let us suppose you want to access the user memory, that is nothing but logical address, location I. This is nothing but your page number. Now, wherever this I is located, you need to find. So what you're doing, where this particular page table is present right now, this is present in your memory, isn't it? From the memory, actually displacement we have shown here, but this also is present in your main memory. So from the memory, you have to first access the frame number, and that frame number you need to perform some kind of operation with your displacement and try to get. So here what happens, the access time is getting delayed by a factor of 2. The access time is getting delayed by a factor of 2. How? First time it has to access this particular page table. So let us suppose 1 second it is taking to access this. Now after getting the frame number from the page table, it has to perform here some operation. Let us suppose this is taking 1 second to get that particular location, the physical address. So here what happens, the memory accessing to means memory accessing is nothing but this particular RAM accessing is getting delayed by 2 seconds. So that is what he's saying. So here by a factor of 2, your memory access is getting delayed when you people are using a concept called as PTBR. Yes. So that is what the problem that exists. So to overcome that, again, what happens here? It is trying to get a new topic here or new technology here. So what we started doing is, okay, why don't we do one thing? We develop a new hardware. Hardware I'm talking about physical. So here they started looking for a new hardware which is very fast in accessing, and that I think you people can understand what it is, catchy. So in the memory, I mean memory hierarchy, storage hierarchy, we have seen registers, then we have seen cache. Same concept is coming up, nothing else. RAM. So here this cache came. So that cache is what is calling it as fast lookup hardware cache. Okay, which is used for associative memory, and the name for that is given as translation look aside buffer. We call this cache as buffer. What kind of buffer? TLB buffer. We have a diagram I'll show you so that you can understand. So this TLB buffer, translation look aside buffer. Now this will be acting as a cache. Now using this particular cache, what happens? We will store the latest page. Whatever you people are asking, we'll store that information and the frame number within that particular table. So within that particular cache. So whenever you're trying to access the same page again, it will immediately provide you the frame number from that particular table, and from there you directly perform that frame plus displacement, and then you get the physical memory. So we are not capturing your page table. Okay, let me show you the diagram so that you can understand. Just let me erase it. Okay, fine. So that page table, but we are talking about TLB buffer, right? So your TLB buffer will consist of two slots here. Okay, same like your like the CPU generates logical address where P comma D, right? Same way here your TLB also consists of two different locations. One will consist of something called as key, another will consist of value. See, remember the terminology is different, but the remaining process is same. Key is nothing but your page number, value is nothing but your frame number. But here, since we are talking about TLB, we need to differentiate between how the logical address is represented and this. We are representing this with a key and a value. Nothing but your page and displacement. That is what it's saying. Okay. So let me show you the diagram so that you can understand. This is the diagram. Yes. Now, if you look at here, we do have something called TLB, translation look aside buffer. Now, this buffer, this is a hardware, and this hardware consists of two different slots. This is what I am talking about here, key. So, in the diagram, is simply representing as a page number. So, your key is nothing but a page number, and this I am representing as a value. So, that is nothing but your frame number. Now, CPU will be generating a logical address P comma D. So, first time, whatever the page we are that this particular CPU is generating, we'll try to find whether it is present in this particular TLB or not. This hardware, whether that particular page is available or not, it is going to find out. Now, if that particular page is present within this particular table, we call it as TLB hit. We have two terminologies here, TLB hit, TLB miss. I think you can understand what do you mean by TLB miss. So whenever the CPU generates a logical address which consists of a page number and displacement, this page number is first, sorry, this page number is first looked into this particular TLB table. Now this hardware. Now if the page number is present here, whatever the frame number we have here, directly we will provide it frame number and the displacement and you'll get the physical address. And if the page number is found within this TLB, we call it as a TLB hit. Now, in case, let us suppose you search this. Now, definitely this is a catchy means it also has certain limitations. The memory is very less in size. Okay, remember that. Catchy means how much it will have 4 KB or 5 KB, not more than that. Okay, generally it supports around 32 to 1046 entries. 46 or 49. Okay, 32 to 1046 entries it can support. This particular catchy, not more than that. If you talk about 1 million entries, so page table can support even 1 million entries. But your cache can hardly support 32 to 1046 or 49 entries. Okay. Now here, if this particular page number is not found in this TLB, what will happen? We call that as a TLB miss. That is not present in this cache, that's it. But it does exist in the page table. Now this page number, we will be sending it to the page table. So we call it as a TLB miss. Now here the page number will be acting as the index and from the respective page we'll get the frame number. That frame we will be adding to the displacement and then finally we are going to get the logical, physical address. And apart from that, whenever your people are getting this particular frame, we will update this frame here in this particular location. If we have a space here, remember, if we have a space, like we said that it supports, TLB supports 32 to 1046 entries. So if we have any free entry here, whatever the new page came, we are searching from the page table, that page number and the frame number we will add here when we are performing this operation and getting the physical address. So that next time whenever you try to access the same page, it will be available here and from here directly you can access and you can perform the operation. Means you don't have to go to the page table again. So you're reducing the time. The access time you're reducing with the help of this particular cache. So in case if you're trying to get a new page, if that page is not present in this table, you have to search here, get the frame. So you will perform the operation and get the physical address. Apart from that, that page number and the frame number you will be updating here, page to frame like this. So next time whenever you try to access that particular page 2, you will be getting the information of frame 2 here. Directly from here to you'll perform the operation, you'll go. So you will not be visiting this page table again. That is the best part of this particular TLB. Okay. And here, since I am talking about the cache is limited in size, so you might be having 1049 entries. Now, in case if a new entry is coming, that has to be updated here. So definitely we need to replace it. We replace one of the entry from here, isn't it? So definitely for that we use some different kind of algorithms, and that algorithms are nothing but the next half of your unit 3. We have something called LRU, FIFO. We also have something called round robin type of thing. LRU is an optimal. So that we call it as page replacement techniques. Replacement. So we need to replace. So whenever this particular cache is full and a new page you're trying to access from the page table, that page number and the frame number should be added into this TLB. So since this particular TLB is full, so we need to remove one of the particular page, and in that place we need to allocate this. So we have different type of algorithms that we are going to see in your next half, okay, of your third unit. So in that we have LRU, least recently used page replacement technique, FIFO page replacement, and optimal. Apart from that, others are also there. We will be looking around and when we'll come across to that particular concept. Okay, so these are the concepts that we do have in this particular next half. So here we'll be discussing about page replacement is nothing but we are focusing on this TLB. How to replace the pages within this TLB, that we will be seeing there. Okay, so remember that. So this is what we comes around this and TLB. Now here we do have an effective access time, but before that we need to go to the previous slide since we did not discuss the remaining part here. So I have explained you till here. TLB is completed. Now, apart from that, the system, your operating system maintains one more terminology called as address space identifiers. Since I told you that these particular are very crucial, whatever we are doing right now, so making sure we need to provide protection to each and every page, whatever is there, because these pages are with respect to specific process. These pages are associated with respect to one particular process. Okay, so here multiple processes are there, multiple pages might be there, they are associated. So in order to protect these pages, so this page should not be accessed by P2. To overcome that, we use a terminology called address space identifier. This is what we use it for memory protection. Yes, making sure another process is not trying to access the next process pages, we use this address space identifier. So every process will have an identifier. So whenever a process tries to access a page, and that page will have an identifier. So if both the identifiers map, then only the process can access that particular page. Else, that particular process cannot try to access that particular page, whatever he is trying to access, because this page belongs to P2. So it will have its own ID, address space identifier. Same way this also will have. If both the identifiers match, then only this process can access. Now P1 is of a different address space. This is of different. If both try to access it, they can't do it. Finally, it is going to terminate. It means the system is not going to allow P1 to access this particular page. Now here, as I told you, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. TLB will have around 64 to 1024 entries here. I just made a little bit 1049. Previous one it starts from 32, but latest one it can support minimum 64 bits. As the terminology hardware is also growing, the technology is growing, the number of entries are getting increased. Now we already discussed about TLB miss. I think you people have understood this. So we use replacement policy. That is nothing but within this particular table. So we will be replacing the pages whenever this particular cache is full. Whenever this particular TLB is full, we will use page replacement technique. Page replacement techniques. That is nothing but he is talking about algorithms. So we have some algorithms and we'll work on that. We will even try to solve the problems related to it. So this is all related to your paging hardware. Now here we actually calculate from this the effective access time. I wanted to calculate the effective access time. Okay. So this I will explain with the help of a small example so that you can understand. Means what exactly we are doing within this effective access time is nothing but how fastly your system is going to work. That I am going to discuss in this particular scenario. Okay, how fast your system is actually going to get that particular page from the memory and perform that particular problem solving and then get the particular physical address. Means how the mapping from the logical address to physical address is performed, how much time it is taking to map a logical address to physical address, that we are calculating using effective access time. So how we can do it? Well, for that, we need to discuss about a terminology called as hit ratio. Okay, what I mean by hit ratio is nothing but the percentage of time that a page number is found in the registers. Register is nothing but it's talking about TLB. The number of times, okay, that particular page is available in your TLB is what we call it as hit ratio. For example, if I'm saying that the hit ratio for the page 1 is 80%, what does that mean is, if you search for this particular page in your TLB, 80% of the time you will get this particular page in that particular TLB. And with respect to that particular page, you will have the frame number. You can directly access, you can perform frame plus displacement, and you can try to get the memory. That is what he means to say in this particular scenario. Okay. Now here we can calculate that. Okay. So we have been provided a formula here. So using that formula, you people can do that is nothing but. So here he is representing hit ratio with alpha, and he is what we effective access time is representing with 1 plus epsilon. Okay, epsilon is nothing but he is giving some information here. Based on that, he is doing it. So let me explain this with example so that you can understand here. Yeah. So let us suppose that if 100 seconds, okay, if it takes, let us suppose here this is your TLB, right? This is your TLB. Now the CPU has generated a logical address CND. Now first what it is going to do, it is going to search in the TLB. So first it is going to search in this particular TLB. If that particular page is found, then the respective frame will be found here. Now that frame plus the displacement will give you the physical address, isn't it? That we know. So how much time? Let us suppose it takes 100 nanoseconds to access this particular TLB, get the frame, perform this operation and get the physical address. It takes 100 nanoseconds. Okay. Now, apart from that, let us suppose we are trying to access a page which is not present in this particular TLB. Then what is the process we need to use? So here we have a page table. So from the page, this particular page, we'll bring it here to this particular table. And from here, we'll find out that location P. So frame, and this frame we will be allocating here. Perform the displacement, whatever the additions we need to do, whatever the multiplexing, whatever we need to do, we do it up, and then we get the physical address. Now, what do you think for this? How much time it is going to take? First of all, in order to search this table, it will take 100 nanoseconds. And after that, we are performing this performance that will take 100 nanoseconds. So total 200 nanoseconds it is going to take if there is a TLB miss. This is TLB miss, right? But if it is TLB hit, then how much time it is going to take? 100 nanoseconds. Now I am saying that for that particular page, the hit ratio is 80%. What is the hit ratio I am giving here? The hit ratio is 80%. Then can we calculate the effective access time here? Yes, we can. How we can calculate that effective access time? It's very simple. 80% of your hit ratio. So hit ratio is 80%. That is nothing but accessing from your TLB. So 80% of time taken in TLB. How much? 100 seconds. So 100 plus what about the remaining out of 100 we are trying? So 80% is the hit ratio. What about the 20%? We may not be able to get. So 20% of how much time is if it is taking for TLB miss? Where it is here, 200 nanoseconds. So 200. So this is around 0.80 into 100 plus 0.20 into 200. So it will take almost 120 nanoseconds. Because this is something around 0 gets cancelled, right? So this will be something, 80 plus this will be 20, I mean 40. So that is nothing but here 120 nanoseconds. So it takes 120, means your system is getting slowed down by 120 nanoseconds. Since we are doing it for 100 nanoseconds, how much it is getting slowed down? 120 minus 100 is nothing but. So 20 nanoseconds, your system is going to get slowed down. This is the way how we can try to calculate this particular portion. Okay, I hope it's very clear for you people. So it is going to, your system is going to get delayed by 20 nanoseconds. Okay, let's take another example. Same thing. But this time I'm talking about the hit ratio as 99%. I'm talking about the hit ratio. Means 99% of the time you will get the page in your TLB. In your TLB, you will be getting 99% of the time you will get that particular page in this. Okay, then based on this, how much time it is going to take? So TLB hit, how much time it is going to take? The previous example, 100 nanoseconds. For TLB miss, how much time it is taking? Sorry, miss. It is taking 200. I hope it is very clear why it is taking 200. Simple. First time it has to access the page table. So that will take 100 nanoseconds. After accessing this page table, within the memory you will get physical address. So there we have to access it. It will take 100 nanoseconds. So 100 plus 100, 200. So if there is a TLB miss, it will take 200. But in case if it is a TLB hit, directly you will get the frame number. So it here require only here 100 nanosecond to search in the main memory. This portion becomes easy. This F plus D from the TLB. It doesn't take much time. That's why we are using cache here, very high speed. So based on this, what is the value? The effective access time. Alpha, how you can get it is 99% of TLB hit, that is 100 plus, so 1% of 1 200. So TLB misses 1%. So that means how much? 0.99 into 100 plus 0.01 into 200. So this will be something around, how much you're going to do is 10. It is going to take 101 nanoseconds. So 101 means if we are considering it for 100% means there will be a delay of only 1 nanosecond. You can see the difference. If there is a TLB hit of 80%, there will be a delay of 20 nanoseconds here. But if it is a 99% hit ratio, then there will be a delay of only 1 nanosecond for your system. This is the way it exactly works. And that's what been explained here. See here, alpha is saying the hit ratio is 80%. 20 nanoseconds he is talking about for a TLB. Okay. So 100 nanoseconds for memory access. So based on that, when he is performing this particular formula, this is what I have did. 800 into 0.80. 80% of your TLB hit plus 20% is nothing but your TLB miss. This is your hit ratio. This is your miss ratio. So TLB miss is 0.20 into 200. So 120 nanoseconds. So how much delay? 20 nanoseconds. Nanoseconds is the delay. Same if I am taking a 99%, 101 nanosecond we are getting it. So means 1 nanosecond delay is there in this particular scenario. This is the way how your system, you can calculate how much time your system is going to get delay. Nanosecond is negligible, but we usually talk in nanoseconds, so this is also very much high. I hope it's very clear how to calculate the effective access time. Okay, let's go to the next one. So memory protection. So basically we need to protect our memory, right? Whatever the pages we people are storing within our frame numbers and page numbers we are using in the page table, we need to protect them. So in order to protect this particular page numbers and frame numbers, we are using a concept, something called as valid invalid bit. We are going to use a concept called valid invalid bit. Based on this, we can perform different operations to them. Like we can perform something called as read only operation. We can perform read write operation. We can perform write only operation. Not only that, even execute operation can also be done with the help of this particular valid invalid bit. Means what exactly we are doing here is, for the every page table we have here, now we know that the page table consists of your page number as an index, and within that we have a frame number. So earlier page table is something like this. This is a page number frame. Now we will divide this particular page into page table into two halves. Remember, this we are going to divide into two halves. Okay. Now in the first half you will be having the frame number, whatever the frame is associated. Along with that, we will be having something called as a bit. That is nothing but valid invalid bit. So valid is represented with V, invalid will be represented with another terminology that I'll show you in the diagram. Okay, like I. You can use I for invalid, and V you can use it for valid. So here every frame number whichever is present in this page table will have information valid, invalid. So whenever this particular bit is set to invalid, that means we cannot access this particular page. So automatically this results in a trap. whenever the CPU tries to access this particular page. Now, whenever the bit is represented as valid, that means this particular frame we can associate, we can access it. That is what using this we are going to do it. Valid and invalid concept. Now here only we are going to use this particular table length register. Using this we can try to find out this page table length register. We can find out whether we are trying to access a page which is beyond the limit or not. If the page table is having a length of some 1 million entries and you are trying to access a page beyond 1 million entry, then definitely automatically result in a trap. How we can find out with the help of this particular? So whenever you try to access a page, so page number will be acting as index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let us suppose this page table is having the maximum entries is 5. You are trying to access the page number 6. What is the PTLR for this page table length register? 5. You are trying to access page. So these two will be compared. The maximum is 5 entry. You are trying to access the 6th entry, but 6th entry doesn't exist. Immediately it results in a trap. This is the way it exactly works. I will show you the diagram so that it becomes very clear for you people. Here it is. You can see here. So this is a logical address. Okay. So this logical address consists of pages. Okay. And with respect to the pages, we have a frame number. So if you look at here, how many pages we do have? 5 pages. So definitely the 6th and 7th page will not be having any frame numbers. Why? Because 6th and 7th doesn't exist. If 6 and 7 comes, then some particular page might be allocated. Like here, something like 10 or something like 0, 1, something. Some page number will be allocated. But since we have only 5 pages here, so here is representing only till 5. What about the 6 and 9? 6 and 9 if you talk about here, so 6 and 9 doesn't have any frame number and that's why it is represented as invalid bit. So whenever a CPU try to access this particular pages, it will see the check this particular bit. It is invalid. Immediately it will result in a trap. In case if you're trying to access a page 4, it is having a page number 8, frame number 8, but it is valid or not, it will be first identifying. Okay, it is valid, so we can access it. So it will go to the particular page 8 and there you will get the page number 4. You can store there and you can access the information. This is the way how you can try to overcome. Here he is giving a small example where you are having a program which has only bytes till 10,468. From here to here only your people are having the data. You are having a code. You have written some C programming code and that programming code can access bits from this 0 to 10,468. Now when we are talking about 10,468, what happens? It accesses only some portion of your page 5. Means page 5 is not fully utilized. There is internal fragmentation because we discussed that every page size is of same, like 4 KB means this is also 4 KB. Example I'm talking about here, 4 KB, everything. So among this page 5, whatever the size is allocated, we are accessing only 10,004, means only some portion we are using. Whatever the remaining portion here, this is free. We are not accessing. And that's what we call it as the internal fragmentation. Now, as per the rule, whatever we are saying, till 10,468 bits, it should be valid. What about the remaining? That should be invalid. But as per the terminologies and as per the technique what we are using here, till from 10,468 to 12,287, it is showing it as a valid bit. You can see here, 9, valid. Means after that, even though we are not accessing the memory in between, still that memory is showing it as the invalid bit. And that is where we come across a drawback. That is the limit of this particular valid and invalid bit. Okay, but still we people are using it, but latest technologies have overcome this particular problem. I hope it's very clear with respect to that. And next we have something called as very important one is shared pages. Shared pages, before discussing, I want to give a small example so that you can understand. Let us suppose that we have a editor. Okay, we have a text editor which occupies 150 KB. Okay, text editor, you people generally open it in a notepad. That is what I'm talking about. It is a 150 KB of size. Now, apart from that, we have a data. Every user is using it and the data size is 50 KB. Now, let us suppose this text editor is being shared by 40 users. This text editor is being shared by 40 users, and 40 users is having this 50 KB. Then what is the total amount of memory we need to allocate here? So let's suppose what I said, text editor 150 KB, right? And data every user is having 50. So every user is using a text editor, every user is having a data 150. What is the total we have? 200 KB. How many users are using 40? So 40 into 200. So I'm talking about in KB. So it will take around 8000 KB of memory space to be allocated for 40 users to access the text editor and data. But if you think logically here, this text editor, what we are talking about, this is almost the same. Yes, all the 40 users who are using this text editor, we are not going to change anything, means that particular application, whatever we are using, text editor or notepad, that is the same type that we have, means 150 KB. And that particular editor, we are not going to modify. The content present in that we are going to modify. That's the reason we are separately provided data of 50 KB. Means whatever the data you're writing in the notepad, that will be stored here. 50 KB we allocated. What about the text editor .exe file? This is same for each and every user. 54 students are there. 54 students are using the same text editor. Means what happens here in this particular scenario, what is saying is, rather than allocating this separately to each and individual user, we will share this particular application. And if we are sharing this particular application, what will happen? The size will get reduced. For example, data will be required for different users, isn't it? Like 40 users we are using, 40 users will be using or writing some content that will be different. So we require data. So 40 into 50, how much we are getting? So 200. Okay, so 200 is for show. 40 into 50. So, sorry, it's around 200 KB you're getting it. Now, apart from that, how much we require? Sorry, 2000 it is. 40 into 50 is nothing but 2000. So, 2000 KB of memory we need to allocate for data. What about the text editor? Now, this text editor is getting shared with all the 40 users. It is not separately provided to 40 users, only shared. Means only one application we are sharing with 40 members. So how much memory consumed? Only 150 memory is consumed. So what is the total memory we require if we are sharing? So we require 2150 KB. Let me explain it one more time using this paper so that it becomes clear for you people. Let's take a new page. What is saying in this particular scenario is, okay, we have a text editor. I am having a text editor. It is a 150 KB of size. Okay, and every user I'm giving a data. Data means you people might be writing some information in the text editor. I'm allocating 50 KB of space for that. Now, if in normal, if you talk about, I will allocate. So there are 40 users in my scenario. Okay, 40 users I need to distribute that. So a text editor will be distributed to 40 users now. So every user will have one text editor. Every user will have this 40. So how much memory I require? So total memory, how much I require here? So 40 into 150 plus 40 into 50. So this will be something like, it will cost around 8000. So 8000 KB of memory is required in order to provide 40 text editors to each and individual user and 40 data space for each and every individual user. Now, what is saying, since the text editor, whatever I'm allocating, that is an application, and application never changes. The code in the application never changes. Only what the data you people are writing is changing. So what I will do, I will only share this rather than giving it to the 40 users. I'll simply share this particular text editor to 40 people. Means all are accessing the same application, means how much memory consumption has been done here? 150 KB, that's it. But whereas coming to data, you people might be writing different sentences. So definitely data required. So 40 into 50, data space is required. So 40 users into 50, how much you're going to get? 2000 KB. So 2000 KB data space plus 150 KB your text editor. So 2150 KB is what the data means, total space which is required. You can see the difference here. So that's the reason this shared memory concept has come up here. That's what I wanted to show you. This is what he is talking about in this. I will show you with a small example here. See, so there are three processes here, P1, P2, where it is P2 and P3. So we have three different processes. All these processes are using three editors. All these processors are using three editors. Each editor is of size 150 KB. Okay. So here what happens, only if you look at here, editor 1, 2, 3, editor 1, 2, 3, and editor 1, 2, 3 in process P1, P2, 3 are same. But whereas coming to the data here, the data will be different. So data 1, data 2, data 3. Why? Because the data, whatever the user might be writing, the processors might be writing will be different. So here that mapping is going to take place here. If you look at here, the data 1 here, that will be different. Whatever the text editor, these are getting shared. Now how within the memory you people are storing here? So the editors will be storing, we will not be, actually as per the example what I shown you before, if we go with the first one, so how many editors should be present in the memory? Since there are three processes, three registers, 3 into 3. So there should be 9 editors in the memory and data. So 3 data in the data space in the memory. So total 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 entries should be there in this particular RAM if we go with the first step. But we are talking about shared pages here. Since the editors will have a same application, all the editors are of same application, and we are not going to modify anything within that. Only the data gets changes. So what we will do, these editors will be shared by the three processes. So how many editors we have? So we will be using only three editors. And this will be shared among three processes. What about data? Well, data is required. So 3 plus 3, 6. So we will be having only 6 entries in your main memory. So you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you see here the editor 1, editor 2 and editor 3, these are shared among the three processes. So we did not upload them 9 times. But whereas coming to data, so each and every user, every process will be writing a different data. So we have data 1 here, data 3 here, data 2 here stored. This is the way. So that is the best part of your shared pages. And this technique helps us to reduce the access of your main memory because main memory is limited in size. So this is a technique which has been used in order to share the common kind of applications among multiple users and only share, providing the information related to the data which is different. That only we are uploading in your main memory. Remaining, I mean, the same kind of editors we are going to store in this particular table. I hope it is very clear. The same kind of applications, whatever we have, we will be simply storing in one time in your RAM. Whatever the others, whichever will be modified by the different processes, that will be uploading into your RAM separately. So this is all about for this particular technique. So till here, whatever we discussed is related to your paging concept. Okay. So this is all related to your paging concept and you should be aware of it. Thank you for watching this particular site. So in the next video, we'll discuss about your different structures of your page table. Thank you for watching.